Northwestern University Common App essays. Let's talk about them. So Northwestern has one required prompt to write, as well as 2 optional essays selected from a choice of 5 options. Remember, whenever any essays are listed as optional, you should probably do them so you could showcase more information to the admissions committee. Let's take a look. So this first prompt is kind of a hybrid of an identity essay with some why Northwestern as well. The key is thinking about aspects of your identity, including, but not limited to, race, gender, family background, academic interest, and so on, how these aspects connect to Northwestern. For the Northwestern specific content, remember you can always mention courses, clubs, and professors. For instance, on the school website, you can find student organizations that connect to your identity, such as through affinity groups. Yet as always, don't be afraid to mention some things that make Northwestern unique. That could be the university's annual spring tradition, Dillo Day, the largest student-run musical festival in the country. Or it could be Northwestern's combination of stellar academics, research, extracurriculars, or athletics, rare among top private universities. Or you could talk about the interdisciplinary education provided, as seen in how undergraduates can apply for certificates from the university's famed Kellogg School of Management. Just make sure that whatever you discuss connects to aspects of your identity mentioned earlier. Now, let's take a look at the optional prompts, each with a limit of 200 words or fewer. The first involves the famed rock of Northwestern, which we actually filmed in our school tour video, which you should check out if you haven't already. So what would you paint? Take a look at your activity list and see if there's anything meaningful there that speaks to you. Have you been involved in an affinity group? If so, maybe you can paint a message related to that group's ideals. Or maybe you've been part of an organization that celebrates art or literature. Painting the rock in this case would allow you to share some art that resonated with you. Whatever you end up wishing to share, just remember that this essay, like the rock, has spatial limits. Be concise but thorough in explaining why you'd paint what you would paint. Next is an academic interest essay. Though we're not asked directly what major you're interested in, we could talk about that general direction instead by discussing the type of course you'd be interested in. The key difference is that you can be specific here. That is, instead of you as a potential psychology major saying that you'd like to take a psychology class, you can instead say that you want to take a class focusing on nonverbal communication and how that differs across cultures. You could cite your interest in the area by mentioning any academic or extracurricular experience in the domain, which would connect to why you'd be interested in such a course. Then, be sure not to neglect the last aspect, any collaborators you'd be interested in. Be creative here. Any real or fictional people, alive or dead. Who would you want to collaborate with? Let your imagination run wild. Third is a community essay. Northwestern is asking specifically about student organizations, which is a great opportunity to elaborate more on student life at the university if you haven't already done so in the first essay. So take a look at your activity list and see what kind of analogous opportunities exist at Northwestern. If you're really big into print and digital media in high school, then you can mention some of the many organizations Northwestern has in that arena. Just be sure to elaborate. How would you contribute to that organization? Think about what you've done so far in your existing group, and then you could take an analogous approach at Northwestern. Now we move into location, another great opportunity to elaborate upon why Northwestern. The fact is, Northwestern is in a prime location. It's suburban, giving a true university feel between the college town vibes of Evanston and the expansive university campus, which, by the way, includes its own beach. One really huge opportunity that Northwestern students experience, though, is access to Chicago. Chicago, my home, is the US's 3rd largest city. You have access to countless internship opportunities due to the many companies based in the city, which will provide the professional experience needed to succeed in a career post-graduation. Take a look at the school website to see which particular professional opportunities appeal to you and write about them. Finally is a perspective essay, specifically regarding how your perspectives will enrich campus. You'll actually see that it's quite similar to the prompt of the first essay, though this one focuses specifically on this aspect of diversity. Thus, I'd recommend you choosing this prompt if you have something else to add that you haven't added already. For instance, say you've been involved in speech and debate, by which you've encountered and discussed many diverse opinions across a variety of issues. You can write about that here. But remember, you don't want to be redundant, which brings me to my final point. Since you're given a choice of which prompts to choose, it's up to you to decide which ones will be the most complementary to your candidacy. Which essays will allow you to showcase aspects of your application that otherwise wouldn't be visible. Think about that in the context of the 5 essay prompts you can choose, and go for the 2 that would provide the most insight to the admissions committee. You got this.